Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. Have you ever wanted to play a stock market game? Well, Bicycle, yes, the company that makes those face cards, they are coming out with some pretty awesome games, and one of their first ones is called Exchange. Exchange is an economic stock market game that includes deduction, commodity speculation, and uses simultaneous action selection so that you are never bored playing the game. The first thing that caught my attention in this game is these cool ledger boards. Now, these keep track of your shares in each possible security. Will you buy your stocks in banks, bonds, or insurance? Well, really the market value board will help you make these decisions, but the game plays over 5 rounds, and the player with the most money at the end of the game wins. Let's start at the beginning and set up the game. The market board is placed out in the center of the table, and the 15 market forces cards are placed on the left side of the board. And on the right side of the board, you'll place the lobbyist sleeve and the 3 phase 3 cards placed inside it. The money will be placed on their own stacks beneath the board, and the tokens for each security are placed on the board starting at $50 per share. The triangle token is placed on the first round space on the bottom of the board, and it will keep track of what round that you are playing. Each player will take a ledger board, 3 sleeves of each phase, and the cards for each phase. For phase 1, you will have a bank, bonds, and insurance card to choose from. Phase 2, you will have cards valued from 1 to 9. And phase 3, you will have cards indicating each security with either a plus or minus listed on the top or bottom. Lastly, the founder cards are shuffled and randomly dealt out to all players. Keep dealing out all the cards until they're all gone. Each player will then choose one of these cards to start the game with, and this card will list your starting assets. Mark each number of shares from the card onto your ledger board, along with taking any stated money shown at the bottom of the card. So the game consists of 5 rounds with 3 different phases in each round. Before we start into the phases, you should know that the price of the security is determined by the market value, and it will be able to range from $10 to $90 per share. But the prices of these securities will change throughout the game. You will be making decisions early in the round, but you will buy or sell at the end of the round. And when buying or selling securities, you will always trade with the exchange, not with each other. In each phase, you will be making a decision, and as the phases go on, you will learn a little bit more information of what others might be doing to change the market board. In phase 1, each player will simultaneously choose which security to trade. This will either be banks, insurance, or bonds, and players will place their card into their phase 1 sleeve. After each player has done this, they will flip over their sleeve to show everyone their choice. In phase 2, you'll be deciding to either buy or sell and how many shares that you want to buy or sell. At the end of this phase, when all players have selected their choice, you will simultaneously flip over your sleeve and it will list if each player is either buying or selling, but it won't list the number of shares that that player is buying or selling yet. This information won't be shown till the end of the round. In phase 3, each player will influence the market by raising or lowering the value of a chosen security by 1. Flip the card so that your choice is listed on the top, and again when everyone has made their selections, you will at the same time flip them over so everyone can see everyone else's choice. After you finish these 3 phases, you will draw the top market forces card and adjust the appropriate securities up or down based on the effects shown on the card. After the market forces card is resolved, then you will resolve all players' choices that they made in phase 3 of influencing the market. You will soon be able to see prices going up in one and dropping in another. After this adjustment, which might be awesome for some people but devastating for others, players will reveal the amount of securities being bought or sold from their phase 2 card. Their ledger boards will be adjusted and they will pay or receive money from the stack of money on the table. If a security increases above the highest value or drops below the lowest value, then the market pops, and the price of that security will flip to the other side of the board, resulting in a huge shift in price. Now, depending on the number of players in your game, like in a 3 to 4 player game, you'll only be going from the $20 to $80 range. So it's very similar, but depending on the number of players, you might have to narrow down the range that the money can be adjusted to. But again, similar to when you have more players, above or below those numbers, then the market will pop. Now, just when you think the game is more luck than anything, you actually can mitigate some of that by gaining some market intelligence. Any player can choose to pay $50 at any time to look at the top market forces card. You'll take a look at the card to gain some more information on what the market will be doing, and then you will place it back on top of the deck. Also, as you remember when setting up the game, there is a lobbyist. Whoever controls the lobbyist will use their cards to cast a second vote during the market influence phase. Each round, whoever has the most cash in their hands controls the lobbyist for that round. But you will not use the lobbyist during round 1, nor during the market close phase. After 5 rounds, the market closes and each player gets one last turn to influence the market. This is called the final influence, and each player will choose a card used in phase 3 before the final net worth is calculated, and after the final influence, adjust the market one final time, and each player will then calculate their net worth based on the cash in their hands and the value of the securities that they own. Essentially, you're going to cash out all your securities, and whoever has the most money wins the game. The game is great for making decisions when playing, and the game plays in a great amount of time. As you know, the obvious strategy is buy low, sell high, and this basic principle can bring you success in the game. Now, there are some other strategies that will overlap with this strategy, and popping the bubble is one way to try to hurt other players, or when going low to pop it the other way, you can hugely benefit. But the market bubble enhances volatility in the game. Players will be achieving the greatest gains or suffer the worst losses. So you can place securities near the bubble to try to flip them for a huge reward, but again, this is not without risk. Another strategy is to read the room. You might know some of the players that you're playing with, and maybe you just met them, but you can pay attention to how others are playing and learn their tactics or their tendencies. So maybe between phases, you need to check out the decisions made by your other opponents. Check out how much cash they have on hand, where their securities are at on their ledger board, or maybe you see them just staring at you and your board and trying to get you. I really like how this game is formed where you gain a small amount of information each phase. It's kind of seeing what other players might be doing, but not really knowing until the end of the round. The lobbyist is also a really fun aspect in the game because you need to have the most cash in hand, which really might not be strategically good because you could be buying some cheap securities and selling them very high. So players want to have securities in the game, and even at the end of the game because they get transferred into money anyway. So it's a fun added aspect, and it makes you think if you want money now so that you can have the lobbyist, or if you should invest in the markets. But I'd recommend trying to get the lobbyist as they will push for your agenda. Also, paying $50 is at times totally worth it, so you can set up your turn to benefit from what will happen later in the round. But it also might give you information that you won't be able to benefit from, so it's not always a must-do each round, but it can be totally worth it at times. Also, for a game that lasts about 30 minutes, it's got some good economic choices and deduction to make this game a great choice to get to the table. So pay for insider information or pop the bubble on a certain security to win in exchange. Buy games by bicycle. Again, this is Boardgame Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.